Welcome to DHN. I'm your host, Wade Teamer. In this video, we're going to be discussing the new crypto regulations that are coming from the United States. On this channel, we have been focusing a lot on crypto regulation throughout the world because we know that the next stage after that is the mainstream bull run. And with the United States finally stepping into this crypto regulation discussion officially with some very strong framework, the mainstream bull run is going to follow, and I'm going to explain all of that by the end of this video. If you're new here, please leave a comment down below after you watch, letting us know how you feel about the content. And we're not going to waste any more time because we know that's money. Let's get into this information. A new bipartisan Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act has been set forth, guys, and we have the Senate Committee on Agriculture, which oversees the CFTC, introducing the legislation. Now, as a Michigan guy, I was happy to see this first name here. U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow, chairman of the Senate Committee, and John Boozman, ranking member, along with Senators Cory Booker and John Thune, introduced the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act of 2022. This act is going to give the Commodity Futures Trading Commission new tools to regulate digital commodities. Now, I highlighted this next fact because when I got into the space, you didn't see this anywhere, but 1 in 5 U.S. individuals have traded digital assets this year, 2022. And it's funny because in my last video of 2021, I said, guys, get ready for the master year. It's 2022. 22. It's a master number. So not only have we seen the craziest that we could have seen thus far, we're also seeing increased amounts, accelerated innovation across all sectors. Everything is changing this year, okay? And hopefully this is all going to be for the better. But let's jump over to this section by section breakdown, guys, because there are a few things in it that I have questions about. Okay, I'll just put it that way. I have questions. First, we're going to get into section 2, which gives us definitions. Okay, now this is important for so many reasons. One, this bill, the way they've structured this reminds me of how India's approach was, where they decided to give brand new definitions on what virtual assets were, could do, and where they could be used at, right? It adds the term digital commodity to the Commodity Exchange Act. It will also include Bitcoin and Ether and excludes certain financial instruments, including securities. On top of that, it introduces new categories for registration, including digital commodity broker, custodian, dealer, trading facility, and commodity platforms. But here's the first sentence that made me ask a question. It states, mining activity alone is not sufficient to trigger registration as a digital commodity. That's interesting because if you've been paying attention to the crypto mining industry, you'll notice that things are changing. Most notably, there's discussion in certain circles about changing Bitcoin to proof of stake. A lot of people, Bitcoin maxis, don't want that to happen, but the people that are responsible for bringing this agenda forward, they have the potential to make it happen, okay? And another thing too, the whole Ethereum situation, guys. Now, if you've been following the SEC versus Ripple situation for a long time, you may be familiar with the term ETHgate, okay? Simply, back when Ethereum got started, a number of players got involved and a number of big players got involved. And this was before they had some kind of guidelines, laws in place prohibiting government officials from investing in things like this. That's another reason why Ethereum held their ICO overseas, is so that anyone and everyone could get involved. But the problem arises when the government has come after, when the SEC came after Ripple. They came after Ripple stating that it was a security. However, they never clarified what their standing was on Ethereum. And recently, that situation has been pulled into the case, most notably with the Hinman speech now being used in court. I find that very funny that this legislation kicked on after that decision was made, because In that speech, along with other documents and emails coming from him and the SEC at that time, it does not give Ethereum a solid enough definition. And because of that, if they don't have a solid enough definition for Ethereum, then how can you have one for XRP? Well, now they have a solid definition for Ethereum. So that was, along with the mining activity, that raised a question to me. Was this partially done to protect Ethereum? Only time will tell. Another thing that you will see in this bill, guys, is that I don't think it just affects what has happened, but it affects what's going to happen in crypto. And that's supported by Section 3 when they go into the common jurisdiction. This grants the Commodity Futures Trading Commission with exclusive jurisdiction over digital commodity trades, except for transactions in which a merchant or customer is using a digital commodity solely for the purchase or sale of a good or service. Okay, that brings up question number 2. Except for transactions in which a merchant or consumer is using the commodity for the purchase or sale of a good or service. So what we're talking about here are payment coins. All right, and if we jump back over to the original article here, it does detail how this legislation requires all digital commodity platforms to register with the CFTC while setting a single national standard. It also states that other financial agencies, i.e. the SEC, have a role in regulating digital assets that are securities or forms of payment. Forms of payment. Now, those are very important things because Bitcoin can be used in so many different places. Right? So what the CFTC, what they're saying is that Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities unless you're using them to buy things. That's very confusing. But this also poses another slight problem, because if this is the terminology that they're going to use, and again, the final decision will be made in September, guys. But if this is the terminology that they're going to use, this is going to make it very difficult for payment coins going forward. This is just what I'm seeing. Not all information has come out yet. And of course, I always ask you guys, if you have a deeper outlook on this or more information, let us know down in the comments. This is how we learn together. But one last thing I want to show you that stood out to me, guys, and it's something that we have been talking a lot about. Okay, we're talking about Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030, and subsection G states that the examination and publication of energy consumption in digital commodity markets. This requires the Commission to complete a report studying the energy consumption and sources of energy used in connection with the creation and transfer of digital commodities, and to publish it on the website on a regular basis and updated all the time, making this public. Now, what to take away from this is that when we just did our update yesterday for our top 8 coins for the year, Energy Web's on that list. And one thing that Energy Web specializes in is energy consumption data. All right, they're building an infrastructure network for the energy transformation. The examination and publication of energy consumption requires that these institutions have access to programs that can feed this data to them on a regular basis, because now they have to report it all the time. Energy Web, this is what they specialize in, the aggregation of energy data. Okay, again, I just said this bill not only reflects what has happened in crypto, but is what's going to happen in crypto. All right, now, again, I'll put a link to the article that I was able to source this PDF from in the episode, guys, so that way you guys can read through this yourself, save it, keep it, because these documents are important. They are important moments in history, and we need to store them. Now, this subsection J too, dual registration, all right? Gotta look more into it, gotta learn more about it, but it permits a digital commodity platform registered with the Commission to also be registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Okay, You'll see that too in this document, guys, and in the other documentation, that it's not just the CFTC that will be in charge of crypto. This bill is going to define the jurisdictions for both entities, the CFTC and the SEC. And like I said, if the CFTC is wording it in a way where a digital commodity can be deemed that, with the exception of the event that it's being used as a payment coin, yeah. So again, good and bad could come from this, guys. And let me show you what one of the good things could be, because we just covered a report not too long ago from, let me get this pull up here. The good could be, and this is courtesy of Deloitte, we've gone over this survey before, but nearly 75% of retailers plan to accept crypto payments within the next 2 years. Again, this bill is not just addressing what happened, but what's going to happen. And the fact that this survey came out around April and headlines are still running about it, if you know what the media cycle does, you know if they keep giving you a headline, it's something they want you to pay attention to. So, piecing this all together, guys, we have regulation coming in, and in addition to that, guys, we have from last month, Kristen Gillibrand and Cynthia Loomis, this regulatory framework entitled the Responsible Financial Innovation Act is going to lay on top of the bill that Stabenow gave us. And this one will include stablecoin regulation, banking, tax treatment of digital assets, and interagency coordination, right? Here's another thing for you. This final decision, is going to take place in September. In November, there's another event beginning to kick off. Now, I know that the United States specifically pushed their migration date back to 2024. However, one, things could change. And two, even still, having this regulation set in place before the majority of the other banks and financial entities in the world that do, collaborate with the United States, it's for a reason, okay? It's definitely for a reason. But just wanted to give you guys my thoughts on it, give you access to the documentation so that way you can read through it for yourself, guys, because that's what I want. That's what I want. I want you guys to become a self-educated crypto investor. But with all that being said, guys, if you found value in this video, I think you will like this one just as much. When the Biden executive order hit the presses, guys, I was one of the first ones on it. I broke it down section by section. So if you watch that, you'll get an idea as to how we got to this point. While you're watching that, you know what I'm going to tell you. I want you to have a great day, have a prosperous day. And most importantly, if that money is digital, so is the hustle. I'll see y'all in the next video.